Welcome back to Losi Motorsport. So what we want to talk about here is, based on some of the original reasons why we wanted to make the, FA24 to LS3 swap, was we were seeing a lot of heat, build up in the vehicle, in the engine bay. And with the extra components, that are involved in, trying to get the horsepower that you want out of the FA24, it's kind of following the old adage. The only substitute for cubic inch is rectangular dollars. So basically, you got to spend a lot to be able to go fast. And so one of the things that we did is we installed turbos on the FA24. As a result of that, we had a very, if you can come in a little bit, it was a very congested area right in the front here. And so a lot of heat, a lot of requirements for, oiling and cooling and so on and so forth. The entire front section of the car is filled with coolers essentially, so that you can cool the oil, you can cool the coolant essentially for the engine and so on and so forth.
Cool the air because of the turbo.
One of the things that we've determined and what we've found with this particular install at this moment is that we do not need an oil cooler and we do not need additional cooling for the engine. So far on the track, we only get about 96 degrees C, which is roughly about 100 and, or is it like close to 200 and some degrees Fahrenheit?
It's like 205, 203, 205.
Yeah, so it really doesn't get much, it doesn't really kind of get very hot. And it's only got, our existing radiator essentially. And if you look very carefully, it looks like it's actually cleaned up the front bay quite a bit. We removed the extra oil cooler in there, and we don't really have a heating problem, running the engine at, full song, essentially.
Yep.
But just to kind of illustrate that point about, reliability and heat buildup and so on and so forth, we have an example of a failed turbo that you might want to look at.
Yeah,
Richard.
So here is, last race, this is a Garrett turbo, 6850. And basically you can see here basically how the wheel let go from there. So this is supposed to be like this. And unfortunately that snapped off. And then at that, just by looking at the wheel, you can see it actually made contact with the turbo housing, which is on the inside here. You can see how it's all been gouged by the wheel that basically let go inside. So to illustrate, just it proves to the fact that, well, turbos, as much as they have a fairly high amount of reliability, the reality is it's not like a NA engine, right? So if it's naturally aspirated, you just got one less thing to worry about, and you don't need all of this other plumbing, right? Because with the turbo engine, we had the intercooler, and then you have basically the turbo with the downpipe. You have all of that stuff all together, and it generates a significant amount of heat in front of the car. So that was the reason why all of a sudden now we started working on my car, the blue car, to sit there and now make that engine swap, because I don't want to buy another turbo. So what I want to do is actually start working on this car to put the LS3, which is just over there. I want to put this in here now. Some of the things now that you need to do, the things we've worked on so far, we ended up working on the rack, the steering rack. One of the important things with the steering rack is we have to sit there and change bushings. So there's 2 bushings down here, and I'll raise the car to be able to show you there's 2 bushings down there. This whole rack ends up moving in this direction right there. So you have to move it this way because the header fits in this pocket right there. That's where the header is going to go. So because of that, the steering rack has to move that way. And one thing which is very important to try and get those things out of there is we ended up using this tool. This right here.
It's a coil spring compressor.
Yeah, so what happens is that you end up putting a socket here that's a size where you can actually, as you squeeze this together, it basically pushes the bushing out. We found this to work really, really well for us and saves us a ton of time. So if you have something like that, definitely use that because it'll be a lot easier.